Hello, good day to everyone. My name is Zinat Islam and I'm the Relations Manager Academia Network at Yunus Center. Welcome to Lecture 4 of our YSBC Web Lecture Series. The topic of today's discussion is Technology for Fighting Poverty, the story of the telephone ladies of Bangladesh. Today we have with us Dr. Faiz Shah, who's the director of the Yunus Center at the Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. And our speaker today is Mr. Muhammad Ashraful Hassan, who's the managing director of Grameen Telecom. Technology has been instrumental in bringing about many changes in our lives, and today we will hear one such inspiring story. So without further delay, I call upon Professor Muhammad Yunus to make his opening remarks. Professor Yunus.
Thank you, Zinat. Welcome. Hello to everybody. I'm back again. We are for the lecture number 4 in the series, and I'm very happy as a senior most member of the family here in the social business family. And just like a senior most member, I want to remind you what the world was like some 20 years back when there was no telephone really anywhere in the world. Very few. To the privileged people or big cities, big people, they are the one who had afford telephone or privileged have the telephone, or the government officials, top officials that too. 20 years back, that's about it. So that's when we got into the technology issue, that we wanted to bring the information technology to Bangladesh and to the villages. That's what the point of departure. Today, it made a history. Not only we went to the village, we went to the poorest women in the village, the first one to receive the telephone. And we call them telephone ladies. And to make it as an income earning opportunity for her. And that became not only an income earning opportunity, it became a sense of a new discovery for herself. A voiceless person suddenly having voice to the whole world. And that's what the transition that took place. In 20 years from then, it all began in 1997, and just about 20 years or 23 years, we have a different Bangladesh, different world today. Everybody has a telephone. Can you imagine what the world would have been if during this pandemic, without the telephone, what will be the world will be like? And words like trunk call was forgotten. That word doesn't exist anymore, trunk call. If you have to talk from one city to another city with the government telephone lines, you have to wait for hours. We have to wait for days to get connected. Then you have to shout at the telephone to make the other party listen to you. All forgotten, all gone in just about 20, 22 years within that. So that was led by this whole thing, Grameen phone and the telephone lady, and it spread the whole telephone all over the country. Today, almost every family in the country, every person in the country has a telephone in their hand. That's a transformation. Not only having a phone is a transformation of the society completely and the way we look at the world. We used to be a village, isolated villages. Now we made the whole world as a village because now we connect to each other anytime, anywhere. You even instruct our children where to go, what to find, what to do that, and mothers, children advising their parents or something, wherever they are. So this is the world created because of the initiative that the village lady created for that. They are the heroes. And behind that was Ashraful Hassan, who was the leader of the whole transition period and how it made to Grameen Telecom, bringing this rural phone, village phone program. So he will be telling these stories today. It's an amazing story that you'll hear. It's one of the story which transformed the whole world. It's just not Bangladesh. It has transformed the whole world. And I'm very happy to have my good friend, Professor Faiz Shah, to moderate this discussion. It's a fireside discussion chat that we'll be having. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you'll all enjoy to remember what the world was like and how privileged we are to have these telephones and all the technology in the hands of every single person, including the women. And the focus was on the women. That's what the special features of the whole Grameen phone story. So I'll let Professor Faiz Shah take over. The floor is yours, Professor Faiz Shah.
Thank you, Professor Yunus, for this opportunity. Delighted to be here, and I'd just like to begin by, before I introduce our speaker for today, I'd like to go back to when we heard this story 20 years ago in the mid 90s. We were just kind of in a phase where, as Professor Yunus said, phones were important, but not as essential to day-to-day living as they have become now. And phones were only phones. Now, of course, phones have become an extension of our lives. So this story captured imaginations in so many different places. So I would like to just remind everyone here who has not been around for this long that in the time that the story broke, it was maybe not understood as it is understood now, that technology can empower, and the power of the market linked to the power of technology can actually transform lives. People uh, bring themselves around in so many different ways. Having said that, let me introduce to you our speaker for today, Mr. Ashraful Hassan. As Professor Yunus has said, has been with the Grameen family since 1984. And he has had a very close association with some of the most interesting um, advances that social business and its precursors, microcredit and local empowerment, have had. And since 1999, until when he was as a structural engineer, mostly engaged with running and delivering on infrastructure. Since 1999, Ashraful Hassan Saab has actually led a number of companies, social businesses, and initiatives, including Grameen Knitwear, Grameen Fabrics and Fashion, Grameen Distribution, Grameen Shamogri, and then Grameen Telecom itself. So you can see from the growth of the Grameen family has also in some ways been directly interlaced with Mr. Ashraful Hassan's life. And since 2010, when he's become the trustee and CEO of Grameen Telecom Trust, he has been responsible for some of the new investments that we see now coming up at the grassroots. But then he's no stranger to complexity. He's no stranger to wearing many hats. I think he's the first man I know who heads five major outfits and runs them all as their executive head. So with that said, I'd like to invite our guest for today, Professor Dr. Mr. Ashraful Hassan, to join us. Welcome, Mr. Ashraf. And if you like, we can move to perhaps asking you a question, and then we begin by reminding ourselves of this fascinating story of the telephone ladies in Bangladesh. Particularly before we had connectivity as a given, uh, what do you think made the Grameen telephone ladies actual game changers at the time that it was all started? Our audience would be very keen to learn when the ladies first became visible in Bangladesh as change makers, and what encouraged them to become entrepreneurial.
Thank you, Dr. Faiz. Hello to all, and pleasure to be here today. And thanks to Yunus Center for giving me the opportunity to be the part of YSBC lecture series. Again, thanks to Dr. Faiz for generous introduction. To answer your question, I will go back more than 23 years because Professor Yunus already mentioned it is 23 years, but I will go back another 2 years, 25 years back. Huge success of microcredit program with rural poor of Bangladesh, Professor Muhammad Yunus thought to make a tool to bridge the communication gap between urban and rural and develop a product known as Polyphone. In English, it is village phone. In 1995, that's why I told 25 years back, Professor Muhammad Yunus established a company named Grameen Telecom, a not-for-profit company. The objectives of the company are to promote and develop telecommunication and ancillary services in the rural areas of Bangladesh for bring the communication technology to the doorstep of the villagers improving the standard of living, and reducing poverty. There was a lot of challenges to set up telecommunication network in the rural areas. Two of them were main challenge. Number one, we don't have any technical know-how to run a mobile network business. To overcome this problem, we made a joint venture with reputed telecommunication company. Precondition that they will set up telecommunication network all over the country, but priority should be given in the rural areas. Initially, Grameen Telecom made a joint venture with Telenor from Norway, Marubeni from Japan, Gonofone from USA, and formed a consortium named Grameen Phone Consortium. Finally, it turned into a company named Grameen Phone Limited in 1996. Second challenge was, normally, rural people had not enough money to buy a handset and pay connection charge as it was high cost. So how it will work in the rural areas? That was the big question. Professor Yunus thought if the phone can use for income generating tools, then it will work. That was the idea. From there, he bought this fascinating idea to give a loan to the female borrowers of Grameen Bank to buy a handset and to pay connection charge. Business modality was she will use this phone to provide telephone services to the villagers. Phone company will charge her airtime bill with a subsidized rate, and she will charge to the customer at market rate. Margin between two rates is her income. In the meantime, Grameenphone applied for license to the government and got license to operate mobile network at the end of 1996. The company launched its fascinating product Village Phone on 26th of March 1997, already Professor Yunus mentioned. The first village phone lady Laili Begum from Dokhin Khan. It is nearer village at that time, nearer to Dhaka. She called the then Prime Minister of Bangladesh. On the same day, from this call, commercial operation of Grameen Phone also inaugurated. And from that day, phone lady come up on the surface. So then the visibility of phone lady. Now coming to the entrepreneurship issues. Village Phone was introduced unique poverty fighting tools, made up with a combining entrepreneurship skill of Grameen Bank borrowers, microcredit, and most of the cell phone, modern cell phone with GSM technology. As a member, Grameen Bank, they already gained some entrepreneurial skill to fight against poverty. Added with two other elements, microcredit and technology, boost them to become a successful entrepreneur and made them important person in the village. That was the answer of your first question.
It's fascinating how you say that at that time, perhaps nobody had thought that a telephone, which was, as Professor Yunus said, the mark of privilege in our communities, would suddenly become an income generating proposition, particularly for people who couldn't think of getting a phone. So but that's a very different time from now, right? Because the now connectivity is so easy. It's possible to just go out and get your phone very easily. So the question is, how did this connectivity and this empowerment proceed beyond the early 1990s to the early 2000s? Because we see the phenomenon of ubiquitousness of telecommunication, of telemobility. So let's hear a little bit about this. What was so unique about this business idea that jumped onto this transformational time and created opportunity for women who otherwise might never have dreamt of becoming independent entrepreneurs? What was the uniqueness about the business model?
Uh, in late 90s, telephone was luxury products in the context of urban area and was the fairy tale for rural areas. The tele-density of that time, Bangladesh, was less than 0.5%. To getting connection, you not only need money, but also need blessings from high official of state-owned only telecom company at that time. A startup cost around 400 US dollar. That was one of the highest in the world, and waiting time was normally 2 to 5 years. A private mobile company was also there, but their handset and connection was also too high. It is around 3,000 US dollar and call rate were very high. Only ultra rich people could afford that phone. So this was the situation, late 90s, the telephone situation in Bangladesh. Now, the unique idea, the changes, now that huge numbers of people are using phone, including not only in the urban area, also in the village area. The communication is one of the most important elements for all sort of development. It was mostly absent at that time, especially rural people who were out of connectivity. In 1996, Professor Muhammad Yunus came up with a unique business idea. The uniqueness was our most of the peoples are living in the rural areas. So provide phone service to the rural areas through village phone lady because they cannot buy directly phone at the time. So provide phone service in the rural area through village phone lady was the number one unique idea. Another, it should be cheaper and affordable to the all sort of people, not only in the village, not only in the urban, the whole Bangladesh. If we bring the phone price less, then it will grow fast. The third point, another unique. Normally, Professor Yunus tell that what other do, I do opposite. Same idea he followed here. All over the world, phone companies started business from urban area. He advised to start from rural area and giving emphasis to build mobile network in the rural areas where mass people are living. Earlier I told. That's why the infrastructure development in the rural area use the mass people's easier phone. The scenario changed, and this unique idea changed the whole scenario.
Amazing. So basically, what you just described was how we managed to see a shift in from the urban to the rural, but using the same demand-driven uh, tools that drive up markets anywhere. So we focused it on the rural, and we saw um, rural areas pushing demand, and therefore, so one can easily say that the reason that the prices came down and the access became improved was because demand moved from the urban areas to the rural areas where most of our populations in this part of the world live. So that's something for some of our planners to think as they design uh, new high demand pro poor technologies. But talking about demand, Mr. Ashraf, I'd also like to find out a little bit more about the growth trajectory. How did the market growth work from the rural demand-based business models? How did you have people moving from a few thousand in the beginning to then the first 100,000, and then going on now to the tens of hundreds thousands that you have now? It would be instructive for us to find out how the demand growth was managed.
Yeah, as I told you, your last question about the telecommunication situation in those days, handset price, connection charge, and call rate are not reachable by the general people. So everything, if you do something different, then you should have some ambition. Professor Muhammad Yunus had an ambition to give mobile connection with handset below 10,000 Bangladeshi taka, around it is $225. Now it is more cheaper, but at the time it was unbelievably, you know, dream. It was a dream because at the time normally mobile phone connection was 10 times higher than that. So it was a initial ambition that will bring the handset price low and call rate reasonably low. Bring down the price of handset and call rate, which can afford general people, was the key success factor. And another thing, it is a general business cases. We always address the problem of our customer, providing high standard level of service to them from beginning to our operation. So another thing was actually the infrastructure development by the company. In 1997, when the demand increased of connectivity, both urban and rural areas, it was necessary to faster network development. Then we made a lease agreement with Bangladesh Railway to use their fiber optic cables, which had laid earlier, to interconnect between all the train stations. By using the fiber optic cable from Bangladesh Railway, we expand our network rapidly all over Bangladesh. That was one of the technical issue that we managed very nicely. Another thing, that changes of ideas. When the customer base reached 30,000 in the whole Bangladesh, then the call conversion from mobile to land phone and land phone to mobile, due to less bandwidth, we started to campaign mobile to mobile. GP started to campaign mobile to mobile call option with low tariff. It was meet the all customer satisfaction and impact for the growth of consumer base of Grameen phone as a whole Bangladesh. For customer satisfaction, Grameen phone rearranged their tariff rate and adjusted with operational cost in a regular basis. This is one initial idea in the whole, not only the village phone side, as a whole. So all those initiatives help us continuous growth of Grameen phone. You told the customer base issue. The Grameen phone is the biggest mobile network operator in Bangladesh. In the year 2000, GP subscriber came 100,000. It took 3 years from its inception. After 3 years, 2003, it reached 1 million. And then 5 million in 2005. Interesting is just 1 year taken to bring it 10 million. Now the customer base of Grameen phone is 77 million. Out of total customer base now, 166.7 million in Bangladesh. Grameen phone subscriber market share is 46%. And revenue market share is 52%. So I will add another thing, the shareholding structure of this company. Till now, the Grameen phone is only one public listed company in Bangladesh. And the current shareholding structure of Grameen phone, Telenor is 55%, Grameen Telecom is 34.2%, and 10% is the public share.
What I hear in this is that, when businesses are faced with rapid transformation of technology around them, companies have to be innovative in their services. So what we hear you describe is how you were constantly innovating your services, whether it was getting infrastructure alternatives, whether it was building density of infrastructure, whether it was producing product mixes that were affordable and appealing. So I think the lesson from this here is about this trying to be rapidly innovative, quickly, and moving forward as the environment changes around you. Excellent.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the next question, Ashraful. For us in our part of the world, including Bangladesh, rural people are generally thought of as not very savvy with technology, as people who don't understand technology very well. And here we are talking about the poorest people in the remotest villages, particularly women who are not exposed to mostly, in open social environments to technology. So, what were you doing while you were innovating the product and the services and the infrastructure? What were you doing to make sure that the women in these villages were also adapting and learning to use technology and how to set up and operate the booths and so on? So people would be very interesting to find out how you were matching the business side of things with the capacity building and training side of things also.
Yeah, when we introduced mobile phone in Bangladesh, even most of the urban people were not familiar with the mobile phone. For village women, it was unknown world. They did not know even what is it. So it was challenging at the time to select a phone lady because we make some criteria that we should have, sorry, they should have excellent track record for repayment of previous loan from Grameen Bank. At the time, the price of handset and connection charge was substantially high, and it was higher than general loan size of Grameen Bank. She should have capability to repay the loan and should have some courage, just not to afraid to operate the mobile phone, because we saw that we just bring this mobile handset to the village lady, they're just afraid how they will operate. So this was another uh, issue we need to um, you know motivate them. Availability of the network and market for phone service also important factor at that time, because at that time everywhere was not the network. The keeping in mind on all those points, very well structured policy guideline was formed by the Grameen Bank and Grameen Telecom for selecting phone ladies. Grameen Bank officials and unit manager of Grameen Telecom were responsible to train them and support them. The training covered how to operate the phone, how to take care of the phone, how to find out the call duration from the handset and calculate the bill for particular calls. And we also provided a stopwatch simply to calculate the call duration. So giving train to the telephone ladies were a very tough task. Since they were not educated, most of them were uneducated.
Mhm.
It was a big challenge to operate phone by an illiterate person, and also difficult to teach them read and write the digit by using pen and paper, because they cannot hold the pen in a very correct way. So village villagers have a small, mud yard in front of their house, or in between a cluster of house, there is some space, open space. Grameen Bank and Grameen Telecom officials find out a very simple way the telephone lady will practice to write the digit 0 to 9 on the ground by a small wooden stick. And it was work. Within a very short time, they learned how to dial the phone number. Not only difficult with the telephone ladies, infrastructure and logistic problem also was there. Initial stage, the network coverage was limited and signal was not enough to set up village phone booth everywhere. We overcome this situation to provide high gain outdoor antenna to boosting up the network. It was same like our previous TV antenna. Most of them, we are familiar of that one. At that time, also find a durable handset and quality mobile handset also with a reasonable price also difficult. Grameen Telecom arranged those handsets for them. So all those way we trained them and all the logistic support we given them to bring her as a telephone lady.
So this basically, I mean, as I listen to you, I realize that here is this person who is generally very disempowered in their community, and suddenly you give them a tool which increases their demand, their respect, their status in society. That's a unique kind of empowerment. So I think everybody would also want to know uh, if there's any stories you have of some women who using the power that this technology brought to them, or I should say the empowerment, how the behaviors changed among the women themselves, and how behaviors changed around the women in the community.
Yeah, really, village phone bring a lot of positive changes in the society, including the rural women empowerment. It helped in a great extent to the women empowerment. The decision was only female borrower will be selected as a phone lady. So it was another lift of the Grameen Bank borrowers in society and within her family. At that time, in the whole village, the phone lady is only the owner of one mobile phone. Villagers come to the phone lady to make a phone call.
Mm.
For that, she became known person in the village within very short time and interact with different peoples. Her confidence level increased. Situation created in such a way where rich person came to village phone lady who earlier hired them as a maid servant. Within a new business, with this new business, her income increased significantly and she contribute more to the well-being of her family as also children growing up with the technology advancement. By increasing her socio-economic structure, she could create a space in the society.
Right. So I think for me, it's amazing to see how not only technology as such brings access to people, it also empowers people. And how we see that the use of this particular device, that you reach out to the most marginalized of people and give them technology that can be used by the community in general, actually empowers not only just that person, but attitudes around that person also undergo change and society moves up in general. It's fascinating. I'd also like to say, but when all this is happening, I'm sure there were some operational issues that you were running into all the time. For instance, the issue of average revenue per user, and the business calculation side of things. Is there any kind of relationship that you have that you saw between how the women were being involved and included and trained, and how the revenue per user was changing during this time?
Yeah, it is every business is the same thing. Initially, if there is a green field, then business is very high. So initially, the demand was so high. You know, the villagers come to her house early morning and is standing in a queue to make a phone call. Besides, some are come to her to receive incoming call, mostly from abroad, with pre-arrangement. So somebody had a pre-arrangement that tomorrow I will call you at morning 8:30. You can come. Then they are getting connect each other. As the demand was high, payphone business was excellent. When villagers start to use mobile phone by their own, because day by day the phone is going to cheaper, people are aware about it, and then everybody has keen to buy a phone. So when it's reachable to them, the day by day, the business gradually, the demand gradually decreased. Telephone lady moved from house to the marketplace to serve wide range of people. At that time, actually, the mobile phone was rapidly expanding But actually, there's some difference between the village phone and at that time, rapid growing phone. The rapid growing prepaid phone, no ISD and land phone connection, but it was in the village phone. So there was also customer base at that time. By requesting caller, especially international caller, phone lady brought her phone to the receiver house to connect with their family. In this case, she took extra charge on the top of that call charge.
Right, right.
So, the village phone earning in 2003, after 2003, it was high, like from 5,000 to 100,000. So at that time, if I convert that BDT with US dollar, then 100 to 2,000 US dollar was the revenue of one single phone.
Wow.
But 2008 business was reasonably good up to 2008.
Mm-hmm.
2012 business visibility was there. But once phone service was her main business, when revenue decreased, she took it as her side business. Those are more capable. They added mobile related other business like FlexiLoad, agent of mobile financial services, computer training and composing by hiring some people, emailing, online visa fill up, digital photo printing from the mobile. This they added, not all, but some. Some phone they sent to operate in the public call office with a small booth of different activity related to the mobile in the city to earn money. Still, there is some phone ladies doing their business in some areas of Bangladesh, but not significant. But actually, the demand growth is less. They change their, business modality. So now,
They were
teledensity is more
continuing to
than,
innovate.
yeah, now the teledensity is more than 100%.
Yeah.
Numbers of telephone ladies are using this phone now because they are a business lady, their own business purpose. This is also important. And personal use, family use, and they're getting better tariff than others.
So now that this is, everybody's connected, as you say, teledensity is so high now, almost 100%. So then what are these ladies now doing basically to maintain relevance in the marketplace, to still offer services other than the app-based services that you mentioned? Are there any other common uses that you have seen these phone entrepreneurs adopt to respond to this sort of tightening of the market for them?
Actually, but if you say the 100% teledensity in the number, but not everybody is still there. They have their own telephone. So
They are still being, so people still go to them.
Yeah. So they are not that significant. Very few still there. Some user like village housewives, ultra poor people, some segment of rickshaw puller, daily labor, beggars, floating people. And actually one, aesthetics we have that the ARPU, average revenue per unit of a village phone segment is still higher than blending ARPU of Grameen phone. So some numbers of village phone are still using as a payphone or shared phone.
This must be quite, for instance, for those of us who are used to having everybody having their own phone, this must be quite an eye-opener, because there are still people out in the villages for whom telephone creates the kind of access that requires an intermediary. So that, for me, that's something new as well. Thank you for that. But then I'm sure you have so many other interesting stories about various cases that you saw, various people that you've met. And I've also heard that now the same model is being replicated in a number of other countries. So let's hear about some of your most interesting stories, and some other experience that you might have seen in outside of Bangladesh as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of stories out of, I'll say few. So one day, Professor Muhammad Yunus visited village phone lady. He asked her either she can read and write. Answer was no. Then Professor Yunus asked, how you operate your phone? Telephone lady very confidently said, sir, just write a mobile number and give it to me. I'm able to call your desired number by closing my eyes. And she dialed the correct number with symbol. Amazing. And she just showed her capability. This is one of the story, interesting story. Another was not a story. It is actually the day-to-day work of day-to-day activity of the telephone lady. So as I told you, by requesting caller, especially international caller, phone lady brought her phone to the receiver house to connect with their family. In that time, network was not strong enough to establish call everywhere and was difficult to hear each other. Telephone lady make it possible by carrying the high-gain antenna, outdoor antenna with her. Though it was bigger in size, I told you previously, it is previous our TV antenna. That was very interesting to the villagers. So someone helping this phone lady and carrying a lot of things, going somewhere else to make a connect them to abroad, their son by phone. Numbers of children behind her like a pipers of Hemilan. And actually, I'll just tell the another one story. This was also interesting. With the help of Grameen communication, we established some CIC. It is Community Information Center to provide internet access to the villagers operated by the phone lady. Just one lift. With that time, we thought that phone lady can operate one village kiosk where people should come for taking internet facilities. The first wedding ceremony by using Ace modem at the time through video call was happened one village at Tangail in 2005. The bride appeared in front of the computer monitor of village phone CIC. Local leaders of the area, a large crowd, including dignitaries of this area were presented. All eyes were on the computer monitor. After turning on the computer and click the button to connect Singapore and turning on the webcam, a picture of bridegroom and bride floated on the monitor. Everyone present were astonished. The whole bazaar turned with a huge applause and cheers. The entire marriage ceremony was taken 1 hour to complete successfully. This interesting news was broadcasted on BBC News. These three stories, just I told and now second, I'm coming to your replication and recognition issues. Village phone program was replicated some other countries and good coverage by world-renowned media. Village phone replication first ever launched in 2003 in Uganda, after Haiti, Indonesia, Cambodia, Nigeria, Philippines, and Rwanda. Grameen Telecom received 4 international awards for its village phone program. First one was Commonwealth Association for Public Administration and Management Award in 1998 from UK. The same year, we received GSM Award from UK. Petersburg Award uses of the IT and innovation for poor people's life in 2004 from Russia. And fourth one was ITU World Information Society Award 2005 from Switzerland, and Grameen Telecom was the first recipient. So this was award and replication. Another recognition we have, the National Museum of Scotland showcasing the village phone product and other communication equipments item, such as some mobile handset at that time. But one I mentioned, because everybody knows who are related with this phone program, the historical 1610 Nokia model handset, signal tester, signboard of the polyphone booth, and case study of the telephone ready. So these are the, the recognition which we received for this wonderful program.
Yeah, because I think now we are sitting on a Zoom call and there are like 240 odd people in this, so it doesn't sound as very revolutionary. But I'm trying to imagine what it might have been like in the wedding ceremony, when this thing was, nobody could have probably imagined it in a rural setting like that. So that way, I think the transformation must have been phenomenal. And I'm so glad that some of it has been captured in stories and in exhibits around the world. But one thing that I would like to also, kind of going back to our earlier discussion, was that now with connectivity so high and affordable and accessible phones in reach, you're saying that there are still very strong cases for continuing to manage the polyphones. And so some of the services, before it was just people talking to people, but now you mentioned that there are app-based services available. There are social service delivery apps that are now being run through this. So maybe a few examples, if you like, on how we have moved from just people talking to people accessing services through the mobile phone booths.
The transformation from H to 3G, 3G to 4G has a huge impact. Internet users through data connectivity is now normal.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays, internet is the most powerful tools for communication. So during pandemic, the use of internet is going up, and data connectivity create easy access to the internet. Though the mobile penetration in Bangladesh, the smart is very high, but the smartphone user are less, almost 35%. So day by day, the smartphone user are increasing. And I told you that the mobile financial services that are taking from not only the urban people, the village people are now always using the mobile apps, especially mobile financial services that they're transacting their money through the mobile device, either with the data or by the SMS. So this way, actually, the money transaction from urban to rural and rural to rural is happening.
Then, I've also, earlier when we were talking about this, you mentioned how this connectivity, this ability to connect people and services and systems so effectively has also played a role in natural disasters or, creating health or education services and now, of course, in the COVID pandemic as well. So perhaps a few observations and stories that you might have on how this connectivity is working to serve special situations as well.
Yeah, due to availability of mobile data, internet banking, say for example, through mobile apps was growing. In the pandemic situation, most of the bank request not to come physically to the bank for service, which can be done through internet. Large number of people are doing their banking activity through mobile data in this time. So money transaction, I told, and utility bill payment through mobile apps was growing fast in Bangladesh. During COVID, it accelerated more faster way. Now money transaction and utility bill pay all over the country, mostly through mobile financial services. It's one kind of all a digital payment, most of them. So mobile data facilitating online consultation with the doctor in COVID-19 situation. In this pandemic situation, telemedicine is most effective way to consult with the doctors and getting treatment. Due to the high penetration of mobile, people are easily taking this service. Mobile data helping online school during the pandemic situation through digital platform to continue study for the student, and also enabling employees with the internet connectivity to do home office and keep business up and run. So conducting different meetings by using mobile data. Now we are a lot of people here, maybe huge percentage of uh, viewers are just connected with mobile data. And you told about the natural disaster. Flood and cyclone is the most common in Bangladesh. Every year, the whole Bangladesh or part of the Bangladesh are affected by the flood. Some years cyclone also there. In the remote areas, only connectivity is mobile phone. Thus, people can get news, flood, cyclone, well ahead of time, move to the safe place and communicate with each other. People now get any sort of information very easily through internet, which helps in education, business, healthcare, online shopping. So digital services was in place in some areas before pandemic. By using internet and mobile phone, it was there. But during pandemic, the user of those digital services are increasing dramatically.
Mm. Yeah.
And the new services are also adding. All this being possible, only the wide coverage of mobile network and data connectivity.
So which basically keeps the phone ladies still very relevant to their communities because they are still the gatekeepers of some very important and very timely services. So this amazing because uh, they have managed to cope with this blanket coverage with this ubiquitousness by tapping into innovative social and community service portals. So basically, I was just the thought came to my mind that like from a social connector and people wanting it to become a connection to their dear ones away, it has become a tool for social distancing, which means that don't come, use your phone and get your stuff done without contacting or coming in contact. So amazing how technology has enabled both sides of whether you want to connect to people you can't see or whether you want to be away from people you don't want to see. It's amazing. So we're now coming to the end of our conversation because I have a timekeeping responsibility also when we see Zenat appear on the screen. So thank you so much, Mr. Ashraful Hassan. For I wish we had more time because at least in my I can speak for myself. I really wanted to continue this and ask you more questions and have more insights into this. So perhaps we'll have another opportunity to talk a little bit more about this, how technology can actually help people come out of poverty and create innovative social empowerment structures for them. So with that, once more, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to hand you back to Zainat Islam, our MC, for taking this forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you also.
Over
Thank
to
you
you.
so much, Dr. Faiz. Thank you so much, Dr. Faiz. Thank you so much, Mr. Ashraful Hassan. This has indeed been a great discussion. I think some technology and telephone, something we take so much for granted. And it's wonderful to know the backstory behind the telephone ladies of Bangladesh. So thank you very much. Now I would like to kindly request everyone to turn on your cameras so we can take a group screenshot of everyone present here. So if everyone can kindly turn your cameras on, our tech team will take a photograph. This will take about 25 to 30 seconds, so please bear with us while we take some screenshots of all of you attending today. Just a few more seconds and we should be done. Thank you very much again. I thank everyone for joining lecture 4 of our YSBC web lecture series. As you know, this is part of a whole lecture series and we have many more coming up. This has been lecture 4. So the one coming up is lecture 5 on October 19th. So you will see a slideshow which shows all of our upcoming lectures. So please, I request the tech team to kindly play the slideshow for the upcoming lectures. The previous lectures, if you have not been able to participate, you can easily go to our Social Businesspedia website, which has the sessions and the video recordings, our social media pages, the Yunus Center YouTube channel has all the links of the previous sessions. So please feel to log in and watch them anytime and share with all your networks. I request the tech team to kindly play the screen. Thank you very much once again for everyone joining. We hope to see you again soon on our next lecture and the many more coming up. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.